Batman can't kill, right? So Batman can't kill is canon. And I'm like, okay, well, the first thing I want to do when you say that is I want to see what happens. And they go like, well, don't put him in a situation where he has to kill someone. I'm like, well, that's just like you're protecting your God in a weird way.
What is with that? I never understood this mentality that people who are fans of these comic book characters treat them as if they're God and they can't see them in bad light. That is completely wrong. Hey there, this is your Matt Doodle with Too Much Timeless Hands, Doodle here with another video, and today I'd like to talk about the interview between Joe Rogan and Zack Snyder and his thoughts on Batman specifically and how they're really weird to me. Now, I know people have already talked about this so much and it's been a while, but I love Batman too, and I just wanted to put my 2 cents on the whole thing. Now, I don't want to immediately start this with just bashing Zack Snyder as a filmmaker. I did like his portrayal of The Watchmen. I actually love that movie. I really like his portrayal, but it already kind of goes in line with his ideas of cynicism and with the actual graphic novel. It kind of makes sense. Yeah, he shortened things down. He made things a little more condensed so it can make sense in a film length instead of like a really long graphic novel. And you know what? That's cool, because, you know, that's the point of those characters. They're deconstructions of what a superhero would, quote-unquote, realistically be. Which then, okay, I have to already hold myself back on trying to show Zack Snyder's positivities. I don't like that idea that superheroes are realistic when they're assholes. I don't get that. But you know what? That's fine, because, you know, that's the point of these characters. So when he decided to bring that type of enthusiasm of cynicism in this version of Batman, already put me off when I first heard about this. And when we were hearing that, you know, he was deciding that Batman was going to kill because of something that happened in the past that we never got to see. Because remember, this version of Batman was our first version of this world's Batman. And when people say, oh, you don't need to know the backstory, you don't need that because we already know all this stuff. Well, yes, we know, but we don't know this version of Batman. All we know is that this Batman was a killer. Okay, so what's going on? And you know what? That didn't even completely bother me. You know why? Because we have seen Batman mostly kill in live action formats beforehand. We saw him kill in the Tim Burton Batman movies. We saw him kill in the Joel Schumacher movies. We saw Batman kill in the Christopher Nolan movies. And I know some of you are going to say, hey, some of those, he did not kill them. He just kind of let them die. That's still killing out of omission. So that's even weird still. So I was even like, okay, he kills. I don't like that. But it's the excessiveness that he did it in this movie. And then hearing this exact interview that he did say back then that his inspiration is wild. Frank Miller's The Dark Knight. Now, I love that comic because, you know, it does what I'm going to talk about here, deconstructing Batman for a, you know, older Batman who needs to do more things to, you know, stop the criminals. You know, he retired and he has to get back into the cape, but he's older, so he has to, you know, rely on a lot more things, right? And when we heard back then of what his inspiration for the movie, that, you know, Batman bursting through a wall and basically having to stop a mutant from killing a child. And, you know, Batman does use the gun to shoot the mutant. But the thing is, because he says that, like, oh, I was inspired by that because he actually killed the person in the story. That is clearly incorrect. They never specifically said he shot him, but throughout the entire book, he has specifically shown that he does not like to kill, that he never kills. He has had so many opportunities in that comic to do that. But he had to fight the mutant leader. He decided to fight hand to hand and not kill him. He could have stopped all the mutants right there because he literally had this ginormous bat tank type thing that could have just ended them all right there. But no, he decided to fight him fair and square. Well, fight fair in the sense of, no guns, right? And then he even says later on in the comic,
these are the weapons of cowards. Our weapons are precise and quiet. In time, I will teach them to you. But for tonight, you will rely on your brains and your fists. Tonight, we are the law. Tonight, I am the law.
Yes, he may have shot the gun, but did he want to? He just said he did it because he had to. He had clearly said he does not like killing, and especially what in the comic where he almost snaps Joker's neck, he does it, and Joker criticized him for that. It's like, you were so close. You could have ended me, but you didn't, you coward. Basically like that. And so even though Joker does snap his own necks with some miraculous strength, he basically, before he does that, he basically says that it doesn't matter if you didn't actually kill me. They're going to think you killed me because I will have a snap neck anyway. And, he snaps it. Which it shows that Batman doesn't care if people don't think he actually killed. If he knows he didn't kill, that's what matters. Which goes into this point of what Snyder said in this interview that really irks me. He basically says that if we cannot show these gods, which is a weird way of showing these heroes in that sense, that like, if we can't put your god in impossible situations, then how are they interesting? How can they be cool or deconstruct them? Well, literally the comic you were inspired by literally does that without Batman having to kill. So I don't know if you read the same comic or not, Zach. I don't know if you even actually read it or you just saw that point in the comic and nothing else. I don't know what it is. And again, seeing Zach say that these characters are gods and we can't see them any other way, what is with that? I never understood this mentality that people who are fans of these comic book characters treat them as if they're God and they can't see them in bad light. That is completely wrong. We like to see them, struggle and have their downfalls, but we like to see them get up, that their, for Batman specifically, human spirit can go past that. I'm gonna say it like this. If you have someone who hurts you so much, are you gonna hurt them back out of revenge? No, because that's not right. Or you won't actually, want to actually fight someone to the death just because they hit you back. That just seems wrong. And that's what these fictional characters are supposed to show. That even with bad stuff happening, you don't have to resort to the worst possible option just because you were put in an impossible situation. That's what they're meant to do, to inspire you. And yes, even in a no-win situation, they're supposed to be able to, show the best side of that, at least for these characters. I understand that there are some times where you have to show a character completely break down, with the Watchmen characters. That's why I still like the movie. Those are a world where that doesn't happen. And I get that in this version of events for in the Batman v Superman, it was different. But the way he keeps talking about it is just so strange. And it's in this point where he says that they told us not to kill Batman, and it's oh, that makes me want to kill Batman. That sounds like a child to me. It's ironic because these characters were meant with child minds in line. Really strange. And that for someone like Batman, the whole no killing rule is so he doesn't become bad to himself. That is a lesson he brought to himself, that not killing is his one rule. Yeah, in a lot of nations, sometimes there's no guns with that. Sometimes there's no complete brutality. But the main one is no killing. And I know a lot of you are going to say that, well, technically he killed in his first time. Yeah, but that hasn't been the case since all the way back then. He also used guns back then. But the no-kill rule was such a good deconstruction of a character like that. How can someone like that survive with that rule without using the guns, without using weapons that would be considered easy to stop crime, if that makes sense? And how this person would have to deal with the horrors of the world. Deconstruction! Gotham City is literally meant to be one of the worst cities in the world. And he, with no powers, no anything, besides gadgets and everything like that, and his, fighting styles, which that is also supposed to be the human spirit. So again, I don't understand this God talk that Zack keeps talking about. They're not gods in that sense. It's just they're people who decided to do good. That's what they're supposed to be. And again, him saying Batman, hearing Batman not supposed to kill makes him want Batman to kill. That seems so stupid. Because then don't make him write this then, if he just wants to do his own thing like that. It just seems so strange. And I know I'm gonna get like Snyder Cut fans, like, wasn't the Snyder Cut so amazing? Yes, for what it was. I like the film. I like what it was supposed to be. But even then, he was basically fighting aliens. He wasn't killing, actual people. And the big thing about Batman that I don't think gets talked about enough is the fact that Batman believes in second chances with people. The fact he has the no-kill rule is because he doesn't want to become the thing that caused his parents' death. He doesn't want to be a killer. And the fact that he has a lot of restraint, that is a lot of things what I think I love about Batman the most. His restraint from anger and frustration. Because Batman is a person with so much anger, frustration, and, bitterness. But you know what he decides to do with that? Hone it in to help the city that, took his parents away. Help the criminals that basically took his parents away. Still helping the people. So seeing this, and you may say, but this is a completely different interpretation. Sure. But again, this is our first introduction to this version of Batman. This is our first version of the Dark Knight since the Nolan trilogy. So this would have been cool to either see that dilemma of Batman, meaning Superman. Because what would have been so cool is the idea, like, okay, maybe if he almost decided to kill, have Batman be so angry of what happened during Metropolis's invasion, with Zod and Superman fighting and creating this giant destruction of Metropolis, which I think is still so stupid on how that happened. And then him being so helpless, what he does? He decides to rebuild Metropolis with all his own money, because that's also something that Batman does that we don't see often. He uses as much money as he can to save the city, not just completely like fighting as Batman, it's also being a philanthropist as Bruce Wayne. But what would have been cool is like him trying to relive that, like he relived his parents' death and still being so angry, so he automatically has like extreme bias against Superman. So him fighting Superman would make sense, and that him throughout the film does not see Superman as human, which is why he's gonna kill him. Because in a lot of iterations, Batman has no qualms in ending an alien life, which is still weird in my mind, but you know what? That's fine. So it would make sense, but then realizing that by the end of the movie, which they show in that movie, that Batman realizes Superman's humanity because he kept saying his mom's name instead of saying mom or, ma, right? Which I don't know why he decided to say his mom's name like that. And that messaging also was kind of weird. From Man of Steel already made me not a huge fan of Zack Snyder's work. You may be all getting mad at me because some people may like the movie, but I'm going to make a video on why I don't like that movie specifically, but that's for later. I just don't like Zack Snyder as a superhero writer specifically. Now you may be saying, why are you going to say that if you like Watchmen? Those aren't superheroes. What makes them a superhero is the fact that they actually help. These guys are just narcissists, soldiers, bad people, and people who have lost their humanity, mind you, who just happen to have these abilities. These characters, like the DC characters, will be hopeful and, helpful, but still people. So yeah, they can still make mistakes. They can still, fail. They can still, be hurt. But that does not mean they just get that they get all gloomy and dark because they're depressed. So having this type of writing for these characters does not make too much sense to me. And this interview that Joe Rogan had with him was just so weird. Like he had, in the entire thing, he had such a smile about having Batman kill, and it's like, oh, I want to see Batman kill. And I took this inspiration from a really good comic and how he killed the president, which did not happen for one. So I don't like his writing. He may be a good guy outside of the writing. It's fine. I just, as a person who writes these characters, you know what? The Snyder universe is basically done, and I am okay with that. I am more excited for the new James Gunn thing. So there's that. That's why when I saw this interview, I got actually annoyed and frustrated. It's not because I see them as gods, no, it's just the interpretation of characters that I grew up with, and I would like to see them done correctly. The one way they actually did this correctly, this whole version of Batman being deconstructed is literally in the Matt Reeves version of the Batman. It literally deconstructs Batman's edginess and anger to a population where crime is terrible and things just become horrible, and that's how he becomes lighter. You don't have to always have Batman be lighter. I actually have a video on how he gets lighter later on, but that doesn't need to exactly happen. Sometimes Batman gets into from being dark to being a happier person. Sometimes Batman goes from being dark to being even worse, as like it showed in The Dark Knight. And I still like that story, but he just never killed because that's who Batman is. That is his core person. You can shake it up, but what makes him a human is his human spirit of holding on, and how that would be slapped into the face on his parents. So yeah, those are just my thoughts on this entire interview, and then my thoughts on Zack Snyder as a writer and director. So there's that. I know this video probably sounded either a little more rambly and a little ranty, but I'm very passionate about Batman, even though I wear brighter stuff. So what are your thoughts on this interview that he had? Did you like the interview? Did you like his take on it? Did you not like it? Did you think it was weird that this is what he saw Batman like? Did you like my thoughts on this thing? Did you not? Did you hate the fact that I talked about Snyder in a horrible way? Or did you like that? Let me know all that in the comments down below. And if you like this video, please like it and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can actually get notified when these videos actually come out. And if that's nothing else, this has been Dunamite, and I hope to see everyone in the next video.